Discover heartwarming dreamland adventures with Koko the Koala and friends, life-changing nighttime escapes. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, young Amy faced a reality that felt heavier than her small 10-year-old heart could bear. Her father had just lost his job, leaving them scrambling to afford groceries while enduring the pointed glares from the neighborhood's wealthy residents. But every night, when the world grew dark, she would snuggle up to Koko the Koala, her beloved plush companion, and drift into a land where hope and resilience reign. One starry night, as Amy closed her eyes, her dreams whisked her away to a dazzling forest filled with vibrant colors and the sweet sound of laughter. Here, everything shimmered with possibility. It was there she met Mr. Jenkins, an elderly veteran with kind, wrinkled eyes. "Courage, my dear," he said, his voice rich with stories of bravery and sacrifice. He had planted the seeds of freedom through his service, and he believed in every person's ability to stand tall. Then there was Rosa, a single mother whose arms were constantly busy but who always found time for a hug. "Kindness makes us stronger," she shared, her warmth radiating through the air. In this enchanted place, they ventured together, sharing struggles that mirrored their real lives. They stood against a greedy villain who sought to steal their beloved community land for riches. Amy felt a stir of connection with these characters, the threads of their lives intertwining with hers. As they embarked on thrilling adventures, Amy learned to unlock her hidden strengths. She witnessed Mr. Jenkins rallying the townsfolk, igniting a fire of courage in their hearts. She watched Rosa teaching the children how to unite in kindness, her nurturing spirit binding them together. What began as simple friendships blossomed into a powerful coalition. Amy discovered that her imagination was a weapon against despair, and with every challenge they faced, her spirit grew. Then came the storm. Dark clouds swirled above, matching the weight of prejudice they felt each day. It was a moment that hurried their heartbeats, a test of everything they believed in. Will you take a stand for what is right when it matters most? The words echoed in her mind like a mantra. In that instant, a daring plan sparked. If the entire community rallied together, they could overcome. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The dreamland began to fade, and as Amy faced the choice of sharing her wondrous adventures with her struggling family or keeping them to herself, her chest tightened. Fear of disappointment clawed at her heart. These dreams had changed her, filled her with purpose, but could they help her family and community facing the harsh realities back home? As she woke, the whispers of courage brushed against her heart, driving her thoughts. Would she step into the light, armed with her newfound bravery, ready to transform both her life and the world around her? The feeling of hope lingered in the air, thick with urgency. What would she choose when morning came? The first light of dawn slipped gently through Amy's window, playing a melody of soft colors across her room. She rubbed the sleep from her eyes, the echoes of the dream still vivid in her mind. Koko the Koala sat beside her, his button eyes glistening with a spark of encouragement. "Today is the day, Amy," she could almost hear him say. She hopped out of bed, heart racing. The world outside felt overwhelming, yet the dream world lingered like a warm hug. Those lessons from Mr. Jenkins and Rosa danced in her thoughts. What if she could channel their strength? Downstairs, her mother was going through the small pantry, eyebrows knitted together in tired concentration. The weight of bills lingered in the air, gravity heavy in the mornings. Amy took a deep breath. "Mom, can we talk?" Surprised, her mother turned towards her, eyes softening as she saw the seriousness on her daughter's face. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" With her heart pounding, Amy shared the story of her dreamland adventures, the villains, the community, and the idea that united everyone. "Mom, if we work together, maybe we can stand up against the people who think they're better than us, just like Mr. Jenkins said." Her mother listened, a faint smile blooming, but there was that haunting hint of doubt, just beneath the surface. "It sounds wonderful, Amy, but dreams don't pay the bills. But maybe they can spark something real." Amy insisted, her palms sweaty with anticipation. "We could hold a community meeting. Gather everyone, just like in my dream. If we all come together, we could do something amazing." With a soft sigh, her mother wrapped her arms around Amy. "You have such a beautiful spirit, my dear. But sometimes, people just aren't open to change. I want to try." The determination in Amy's voice was unmistakable. Her mother pulled back, peering into her daughter's earnest brown eyes, and finally nodded, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. "All right, let us try. I'm with you." After breakfast, bursting with excitement, Amy gathered her supplies, colorful markers, poster boards, and a few of Koko's friends, whom she was certain would help spread her message. With each stroke of the marker, words like together, community, and strength filled the pages. As she posted the flyers around Willow Creek, the sun dipped low, bathing the town in a golden hue. Few read them, some even scoffed, but Amy felt each word like a heartbeat, each glance towards the sky filled her with struggle and hope. All she needed was one person, and maybe, just maybe, the villagers would come together. That night, as she dreamt again, the vibrant colors wrapped around her, enveloping her in a soothing embrace. "I did it," she whispered to Koko, who nodded proudly at her. "But will it be enough?" Before Koko could respond, a thunderous roar consumed the dreamscape. The ground shook beneath her feet, and darkness surged against the brilliant colors. "Stand your ground!" a voice cried out as the shadows loomed larger. Amy's heart raced anew. The fight wasn't over. What lay ahead in this version of Dreamland filled with uncertainty and fear? Would she find her courage again? The glimmer of roses and the steadfast gaze of Mr. Jenkins filled her with hope, but would it be enough to face the dark? The adventure was just beginning. Amy jolted awake, her heart pounding from the lingering echoes of the dream. The darkness had felt so real, like a heavy blanket suffocating the vibrant colors she cherished. Koko, still perched at her side, blinked slowly, as if sensing her unease. "Everything okay, Amy?" His voice was calm, soothing against the backdrop of her racing mind. "I don't know," she admitted, still feeling the weight of shadows pressing in on her. "What if no one comes to the meeting? What if I'm just chasing a dream?" Koko leaned closer, his button eyes shining with something special. "It's not just a dream if it makes you brave enough to act, Amy. Some of the biggest changes started with just one person believing." That thought flickered like a candle in the dark. Maybe Koko was right. The purpose behind her flyers was stronger than any doubt. She needed to believe, not just for herself, but for the community that had forgotten what it meant to come together. After a breakfast that passed in almost a blur, Amy was determined. She double-checked the list of names she had compiled from friends and familiar neighbors. Each name felt like a thread weaving a safety net of connection. As the day drew nearer, Amy watched families rush about. Children stumbled along sidewalks, laughter spilling freely, while elders sat on porches, their eyes weary but rich with stories untold. At that moment, she felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to bridge the gaps of isolation that seemed to cover the town like fog. Maybe if I talked to them, face to face, she thought, biting her lip. With renewed strength, she set off towards Mr. Jenkins' house. He had always been a fixture in the community, a man whose heart overflowed with warmth. She knocked on the door, anticipation swelling in her chest. Moments later, Mr. Jenkins appeared, soft light spilling around him from the open door. "Amy! What a pleasant surprise!" His smile enveloped her like a familiar blanket. "Mr. Jenkins, I really need your help." He motioned her inside. The cozy room smelled of fresh tea and baked goods, and Amy felt comforted. She spilled her heart out, explaining her dream and her vision for the community meeting. The more words flowed, the brighter Mr. Jenkins' eyes grew. "You're braver than most adults I know, Amy," he chuckled softly. "The town needs this spirit. Count me in. I can spread the word." Encouraged, Amy darted from house to house, with Mr. Jenkins beside her, showing her that action spoke louder than the fear of rejection. They met Rosa next, standing proudly in her garden. Without hesitation, she wrapped them both in a warm embrace. "Oh, I've been waiting for something like this!" Rosa exclaimed. "I'll make flyers too, let us make it a feast. We can gather everyone for a potluck." The idea sparked excitement in Amy's heart. With each supportive voice she encountered, the shadows began to recede. She felt less like a lone warrior against the dark and more like a tiny firefly in a swirling night, growing ever brighter. But as the sun set, painting the sky with strands of pink and orange, doubt still crept into her mind. Turning back toward Dreamland, Amy shuddered at the thought of the shadows returning. Could they really rally everyone together? As she prepared to close her eyes, Koko nestled against her. "Tonight, let us dream of the gathering," he whispered, coaxing her into a world where hope shone like stars. As she drifted off, anticipation tangled with fear. What would tomorrow bring? Would her efforts unite the town, or would the dark shadows of doubt return to haunt her even there? The adventure awaited her, teetering on the brink of discovery. Amy awoke to the gentle light of morning filtering through her window, illuminating the room in warmth. The lingering tension from last night seemed to hang in the air, yet a spark of hope flickered deeper within her. Today was the day. Today, all her dreams of community could come alive. After a quick breakfast, Amy felt the exhilarating mix of nerves and excitement bubble inside her. She gathered her flyers, carefully folding each one into neat piles, feeling like every touch brought her closer to her goal. "I can do this," she whispered, smiling at Koko, who had taken a particularly comical position resting on a stack of flyers. "How about we make today legendary?" Koko replied with a wink, his eyes twinkling with mischief. The sun was bright and cheerful as she stepped outside. The neighborhood felt different, alive with potential. It wasn't just a collection of houses, but stories tucked behind each door, waiting to be woven together. Her mission today was clear: connect with each one of them. Her first stop was Mrs. Parker, the sweet lady down the street who made the best blueberry pancakes. As she approached the gate, Amy's heart thumped loudly. Would Mrs. Parker even care about her gathering? Taking a deep breath, she knocked. The door swung open with a creak, revealing Mrs. Parker's genuine smile. "Amy, what brings you here so early?" "I'm organizing a community meeting," Amy said, nervousness creeping in. "I want to bring everyone together and share some food and stories." Mrs. Parker's eyes lit up. "That's delightful. I'd be thrilled to participate. I'll make those pancakes for everyone, count me in." With renewed confidence, Amy continued her rounds, meeting people, gathering support, spreading the word like seeds on the wind. The knot in her stomach slowly untangled with every conversation, replaced by a growing sense of possibility. Each interaction became a thread, building a tapestry of connection before her. The Johnson family, the quiet but caring elders, offered to set up chairs. The kids from the school jumped in eagerly, promising to bring games and help out. It was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. It was the community she longed to see. As she walked toward the town square, the feeling of unity became palpable. The streets buzzed with laughter and friendly chatter. It reinforced a truth Amy hadn't fully grasped before: she was not alone. Yet, amidst the joy, an unexpected wave of uncertainty washed over her. What if they didn't come? What if all her efforts crumbled to nothing? Her chest tightened again, memories of her dream resurfacing of darkness and doubt. Koko hopped ahead, sensing her inner tumult. "Hey, don't let shadows sneak in now. Remember, the brightest days come when we have faith," he chirped. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. Koko was right. She had come too far to let fear steal her light. As the sky turned to shades of gold, casting a glow on the coming together, she felt a swell of excitement in her chest. With the tables set, food being prepared, and laughter echoing in the air, the time was almost here. But just as she began to feel confident, a shadow loomed in her mind again. Would everything come crashing down? The sweet taste of hope was laced with a pinch of dread. As the first guests began to arrive, Amy felt her heart race, a mix of anticipation and anxiety pulsing through her. Would this moment ignite the connections she dreamed of, or would the shadows of self-doubt engulf her once more? Only moments stood between her and the start of something big, and she held her breath, ready to see what awaited her in this adventure of heart and hope. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the town square. The tantalizing smell of pancakes wafted through the air, mingling with the laughter of children. Amy stood nervously at the central table, her hands nervously fiddling with a stack of colorful flyers. Koko perched cheerfully on her shoulder, his presence a comforting balm to her racing thoughts. "Look at all those people," he said, pointing to the growing crowd. Families, couples, and even a few solitary figures began to gather, their faces lit with curiosity. "See? They want to connect just like you do." Amy forced a smile, feeling a spark of hope. Each familiar face among the guests tugged at her heartstrings: Mrs. Parker with her warm, inviting energy, the Johnson kids bouncing with energy, and the gentle elders, who looked ready to share stories once the sun set. This was it. This was the moment she had dreamt of, yet her fears lurked like shadows in the corners of her mind. The chatter grew louder, the laughter infectious. "We need to start the meeting," Koko chirped excitedly. "Come on, they're waiting for you." Taking a deep breath, Amy cleared her throat, catching the attention of the crowd. A hush fell, and the moment felt monumental. She felt her heart pounding, the weight of expectation settling in. "Thank you all for coming." Her voice rang out, shaky at first but growing steadier with each word. I'm so grateful to see each of you here. I believe our community can come together and learn from each other. We can create bonds that make our lives richer. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, while others exchanged glances, unsure. Amy swallowed hard. This is about sharing, connecting, and building a family outside our own homes. A place where laughter reigns and stories are exchanged. Before she could continue, Mrs. Parker raised her hand, a broad smile on her face. I've brought pancakes. Who wants some? Cheers erupted, and suddenly, the tension fragmented like glass under pressure. Children clapped, echoing the adults' laughter, and the warmth of community wrapped around Amy, a surge of joyous energy that filled her heart. Koko bounced excitedly. See? They love it. Just as she started to feel emboldened, a figure stood at the back of the gathering, arms crossed. It was Mr. Thompson, the neighborhood's most skeptical resident, known for his unyielding views on community gatherings. Doubt flickered in Amy's heart as he scrutinized her with a frown. What if he rained on her parade? But before she could dwell on his presence, several children ran over, anxious to grab plates of Mrs. Parker's pancakes. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. Laughter erupted from the kids as they ran around in circles, capturing the spirit of the moment. As the evening unfolded, Amy saw bonds forming right before her eyes. Neighbors who had never spoken shared smiles and stories, exchanging phone numbers and laughing together. For a brief moment, the shadows receded, replaced by the gleam of newfound connections. Just as she thought everything was falling into place, Mr. Thompson stepped forward, his presence heavier than before. What makes you think this is a good idea? He challenged, eyes piercing through the bright atmosphere. Amy's heart sank. She felt the air rush from her lungs. Did he really have to voice the doubts that plagued her? Her mind raced, but she gathered her thoughts, standing tall against his skepticism. Because change starts with us. Every connection we make signifies hope. And isn't that worth celebrating? She replied, determination strengthening her voice. His gaze softened slightly, and murmurs of agreement began to rise from the crowd. But just then, there was a loud crash as one of the tables tipped over, sending plates and food sprawling across the ground. Gasps responded, a collective wallop of panic. Amy's heart raced again, but this time it wasn't just nerves. It was the realization that this was a pivotal moment. Would her dream stay intact amidst chaos? Could she rally them together again? As she scrambled to help clean up, Koko watched wide-eyed. In that split second, possibilities unfolded before her, each one a whispered promise of what could happen next. What if she rallied everyone together to fix this? Would it forge stronger bonds, or could it push them back into their shells? With a deep breath, Amy turned to the crowd, ready to face the challenge head-on. The real question was, would they stand together or would fear split them apart? And as she opened her mouth to speak, the air thrummed with the electric tension of possibility. Amy felt the weight of the crowd's gaze as she stood there, the moment hanging like the last sliver of light before dusk. The overturned table lay littered with mismatched plates, syrup pooling on the ground like a spilled treasure, reflecting her racing thoughts. "Hey!" she called out, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Let us come together. We can fix this." A spark flickered among the crowd. Mrs. Parker stepped forward, brushing syrup off her apron. "I'll help," she announced, her enthusiasm igniting a fire. One by one, others followed suit. The Johnson kids scrambled to fetch napkins and help gather the fallen plates, their laughter a beautiful counterpoint to the chaos. Even Mr. Thompson, who had stood on the sidelines, uncrossed his arms, showing a hint of approval as he grabbed an overturned table leg. The energy shifted, transformed. Each person moved with purpose, glancing at Amy every so often as they worked together. As if the mishap had created not just a mess but an opportunity. "See?" Koko whispered, bouncing on her shoulder with his trademark cheer. "They're coming together." But just as Amy felt a wave of hope surge within her, Mr. Thompson approached, his brow furrowed. "Amy," he said, his voice low but firm. "This isn't just about a spilled pancake. You think a single party can change everything?" The energy around them wavered. She felt her heart drop, but she remembered how everyone had rallied to help, how smiles had broken through the worry. "No, it's not just about a party. It's about making moments matter," she countered, her voice rising with passion. "Every connection we build today can create a ripple. That ripple can change how we see each other." Mrs. Parker's nod echoed encouragement. "Exactly. We might not fix everything today, but we can make a start." Mr. Thompson hesitated, uncertainty clouding his sharp features. The crowd had begun to murmur again, thoughts and hopes weaving into a collective tapestry of support. Maybe he sensed that something deeper was happening around him. Koko piped up, "Think of all the laughs we'll have, the stories we share. This is just one little stumble on our journey together." The sound of young laughter filled the air, replacing the tension that had briefly clouded the gathering. Amy caught glimpses of parents talking animatedly, children teaming up to assist their elders, families forming new connections. The table was slowly being righted, as new bonds formed over shared efforts. Then came an unexpected realization, a feeling that coursed through her like electricity. Perhaps it wasn't just about the pancakes or the parties. It was about everything, the sense of community, the willingness to embrace the messy parts of life together. As the last plate was returned to the table, Amy stood back to survey her surroundings, heart swelling with gratitude. Everyone was chatting, smiles replacing their earlier doubts, eyes sparkling with realization. She knew in her heart that this was just the beginning. But just as the crowd settled into a new rhythm, a shout pierced the air. "Look!" one of the kids yelled, pointing toward the edge of the square. Everyone turned to see a group of strangers approaching, new faces that Amy had never seen before, some looking curious, others suspicious. Worry prickled at the edges of her heart. Would this moment of connection shatter again? Could she rally people around even more when their worlds collided? With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever this new challenge could bring. Would it bring unity or division? Only time would tell. The newcomers stepped into the square, creating a ripple of unease. They wore expressions of curiosity, but there was an unmistakable tension in their stance. For a moment, it felt like the warmth of connection that had just sparked might flicker out. Amy took a breath, her heart racing. She moved a bit closer, trying to read their faces. One woman in particular caught her eye, her brow lifted in confusion as if she was searching for something familiar in the sea of strangers. "Hey there!" Amy called out, forcing a smile that she hoped would convey warmth. "Welcome! We just had a little pancake mishap, but we're all fixing it together." She noticed how her voice sounded stronger than she felt, each word a little ember hoping to ignite a welcoming fire. The woman shifted her weight. "We saw the crowd from a distance, and it looked lively," she said slowly, as if weighing every word. Is this a community gathering? Yes. Koko chirped from her shoulder, momentarily distracting her from the apprehensive atmosphere. A pancake party. And it's a great opportunity to meet everyone. The crowd seemed to lean in, anticipation building. Amy could sense the mixture of curiosity and caution among the onlookers. She stepped forward again, her determination bubbling up. We're all just trying to connect, to support each other. You're welcome to join us. Mr. Thompson finally spoke up, his voice slightly softer than before. We could always use more hands. Come help us clean up the mess and maybe share a pancake or two. With that, a shift occurred. The woman smiled tentatively, looking at her companions. They exchanged quiet nods, and the tension in their shoulders seemed to ease just a bit. Okay, she said, stepping forward. We'd love to help. Amy watched as the strangers approached, their hesitance melting into willingness. It felt like the air filled with a spark of understanding. Bonds could be built, even in unexpected times. One of the children, emboldened by the newcomer's presence, offered a napkin to a little boy among them. Laughter began to sprinkle the air again, and for every wary glance earlier cast, it was replaced by exchanges of chuckles and curiosity. Koko let out a delighted squeal. See, Amy? It's happening. They're joining in. Yet, as the assembly began to talk, share stories, and help scrub tables, Amy felt a twist of anxiety knot in her stomach. Would the newcomers truly connect? Did they understand the fabric of this community they were stepping into? Just then, the larger man among the strangers stepped closer to Amy, his voice deep and resonant. Thank you for inviting us. New to the area, we don't often feel welcomed in such gatherings. His words struck a chord. Often, she reflected, it was all too easy to overlook the quiet ones standing at the fringes, those who wanted to be accepted but hesitated. Amy nodded, determined to nurture this moment. Then let us change that. Everyone deserves a place here. As they continued to engage in dialogue, exchanging stories of where they came from, a familiar energy began to envelop the gathering. It felt like the tapestry of community was weaving steadily, thread by colorful thread. But just as she began to feel optimistic about the shift, a little girl tugged at her shirt, her eyes wide. Amy, who is that man over there? She pointed, and all heads turned to see one stranger standing apart, his expression tightly guarded. In that moment, Amy understood, every gathering had its shadows, people shaped not just by their history but by their fears as well. Would they be open to stepping further into the light? As she exchanged glances with each face in the circle, feeling the weight of their shared silence, she knew this was just the beginning of something greater, an unfolding story layered in challenges, connections, and perhaps even unexpected revelations. Her heart drummed with determination and hesitation. Well, let us not leave anyone behind, she finally said, stepping toward the man who remained distant. Let us welcome him too. And as she took that step, she felt the weight of the moment. Would it lead to further divisions or help pull them all together? Only time would tell. As Amy walked toward the man, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was a pivotal moment. The laughter and chatter faded a bit behind her, like a distant echo. All she could focus on was the figure standing alone, isolated among a crowd that had once felt so inviting. He noticed her approach, his lips tightening into a thin line. The tension in his shoulders betrayed a defensive posture, as if he was bracing for impact. She tried to meet his gaze, but he quickly looked down, focusing on the ground, avoiding her eyes. Hi there, she said, keeping her voice calm and friendly. I'm Amy. I hope you don't mind me coming over. We're all just trying to make sure everyone feels welcome here. At first, he didn't respond. The silence draped over them like a heavy blanket. Amy's heart raced as she fought against the doubt creeping inside her mind. Was this a mistake? Should she have just left him be? Yet, she felt a tug of responsibility pulling her closer, nudging her onward. Finally, he glanced up, just for a fleeting moment, and she caught a glimpse of something fierce, perhaps? I'm not really good with crowds, he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. Oh, I totally get it, she replied, nodding earnestly. I mean, look at this pancake frenzy. It can feel a bit overwhelming, right? A flicker of surprise crossed his face. It seemed her attempt at humor cracked his stone-cold exterior, just a tiny bit. Encouraged, Amy pressed on. But it's more about connecting, you know? We've all had those days where we just felt like outsiders. You're not alone in that. He seemed to weigh her words, his guard softening just a fraction. It's not just today, it's been everywhere. We left behind what felt like home and came here looking for something different. His words hung heavy in the air. She could sense the weight of his story, the struggle in his eyes as he tried to find a foothold in unfamiliar ground. What is your name? She asked gently, hoping to pull him out of his shell. Eli, he replied slowly, still cautious. I didn't expect to find a gathering like this. Neither did I, at first. But it's kind of nice, isn't it? She gestured toward the others, who were now drawing closer, curious about this new connection. We're all just trying to find our place here. Why not join us? Eli hesitated, glancing back at the crowd. The uncertainty in his eyes suggested he felt the draw of connection alongside the weight of anxiety. It's just different, he murmured. I know. But different can be good, Eli. Trust me, I've seen it happen before. She motioned for him to join her. We're making pancakes, sharing stories. It's like a second chance at home, right? His brow furrowed in thought, and for a moment, she felt a silent pulse arising between them, an unspoken understanding. Finally, he took a small step forward, shoulders relaxing as he nodded. Okay. I'll try. Amy's heart soared. The ripple of connection radiated beyond the two of them as Eli moved deeper into the crowd. As laughter and conversation enveloped them again, she couldn't help but feel that they had just crossed a threshold. But just then, a loud crash interrupted their moment. A stack of plates tipped over, sending shatters and gasps throughout the square. Heads whipped around, and in an instant, the atmosphere shifted from inviting to chaotic. What just happened? Eli said, stepping back instinctively. Seeing the alarm in his eyes, Amy grabbed his arm, feeling the urgency in the moment. We need to help. Come on. Together, they dashed toward the commotion, realizing in that moment that sometimes, the biggest connections came not from the calm but from the chaos of life, forging bonds in the most unexpected of circumstances. With chaos swirling, what other challenges lay ahead? Would they rise to meet them, or would the cracks threaten to split their newfound connections apart? As they raced toward the sound, Amy's heart pounded in her chest. The air was thick with confusion, a mix of laughter and shouts threading through the chaos. She spotted a group of people gathered around a broken stack of plates, shards glinting in the sunlight like fallen stars. Over there! Amy shouted, pointing toward a girl who looked utterly overwhelmed, tears welling in her eyes as she knelt beside the mess. Let us help her. Eli nodded, his expression tight with concern. They pushed through the crowd, the noise becoming a dull roar that drowned out everything else. When they reached the girl, Amy knelt beside her, feeling the heat of embarrassment radiating off her. "Hey, it's okay," Amy said gently. "We're here to help." Eli squatted next to Amy, picking up a plate fragment. The girl looked up, her face a mask of despair. "I didn't mean to knock it over. I was just trying to grab some food." And now she choked on a sob. "Breathe," Eli offered softly, his voice steady. "It really is okay. We can clean this up together. You didn't do it on purpose, right?" His calm demeanor seemed to break through her panic, and she nodded, though her breathing was still shallow. Together, they began to gather the pieces of broken plates while others circled around, offering support and helping to lift her spirits. Amy caught Eli's gaze across the makeshift cleanup crew. It was a moment of connection woven together by shared compassion, an unspoken bond forming in the midst of disorder. He smiled, a warm flicker of trust appearing in his eyes that made her heart swell. Once the plates were cleared, Amy stood and dusted off her knees, glancing around. The crowd that once felt overwhelming now seemed to pulse with life, responding enthusiastically to the incident. "Let us keep the fun going," she proposed, trying to turn the chaos into a rallying point. "Who's ready for pancakes?" The crowd erupted with cheers, minds shifting from the chaos to the promise of pancakes and community. Eli stood beside her, a small grin breaking through the earlier tension. "I guess that's one way to make it special," he joked. The awkwardness began to fade as stories filled the air, laughter echoing like music. Eli leaned closer, the camaraderie invigorating him. "You're pretty good at this," he said lightly, the hesitance in his voice now replaced with a hint of admiration. "Only because I have awesome friends to back me up," Amy replied, nodding toward the crowd. The warmth of acceptance wrapped around them, bonding the newcomers among those who had started to feel like friends. Yet, beneath the lightheartedness, Amy sensed a lingering tension within Eli. She knew they were still on the brink of deeper conversations, a curtain of vulnerability waiting to be lifted. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting everything in soft golden hues, Eli's expression turned serious again. "I really appreciate you reaching out today, Amy. It's strange, you know. I often wonder if I'm meant to belong." "What do you mean?" she asked, her heart starting to race again at the depth of his words. Before Eli could respond, a young boy rushed in, carrying a surviving pancake in his tiny hands. "Look, I got one. Can I eat it now?" The exuberance in his voice cut through the moment, breaking the tension, but Amy could still feel Eli's hesitation. As laughter erupted once more, a small part of her wanted to hold on to this moment of honesty. "Eli, when you said you were meant to belong," but just then, a loud cheer went up from the crowd as someone flipped an extraordinarily tall pancake high into the air, grabbing everyone's attention. Eli's gaze slid back toward the joy erupting around them, and the heaviness that had clouded his features lightened again, if only for a moment. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that the conversation had only just begun. What lay beneath Eli's surface remained a mystery, and she felt compelled to draw it out. Would Amy be able to help him find that sense of belonging he so desperately sought, or would uncertainty overshadow all the connections they had begun to build? What would it take for Eli to truly feel at home? With the laughter and cheers around them, Amy felt a warmth in her chest, a gentle reassurance that community was blossoming. But Eli's lingering hesitation gnawed at her. She could tell he carried a weight that contrasted the joy all around. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the festivities, Amy made a promise to herself. She would help Eli find his place. "Hey, Eli," she said softly, leaning slightly closer, "can we talk for a minute?" He hesitated but then nodded. Together, they stepped away from the bustling crowd, finding a quiet corner under a blooming tree where the sounds of laughter faded to a gentle hum. "I know today has been a bit overwhelming," Amy began, searching for the right words. "But I see you. I know it's hard to feel like you belong, especially after moving here." Eli's expression softened as he let out a breath. "It's been tough," he admitted, looking at the ground. "I've always felt on the outside, and it's hard when you just want to fit in." "But that's the thing," Amy said, her heart racing with sincerity. "You don't have to be perfect. We're all just trying to figure things out together. You're already part of this community simply by being here." His gaze met hers, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of hope. "But what if they don't accept me? What if they don't want me in?" Amy smiled, her heart swelling. "People are more open than we often realize. We all have stories, we all have doubts. It's what makes us human. The more we share, the more connections we can build." He nodded slowly, digesting her words. Just then, laughter echoed nearby. Amy caught a glimpse of the children, their joy infectious, and an idea sparked in her mind. "Let us jump in together. Why don't we introduce you to the kids? They're always looking for more fun." A cautious smile broke on Eli's lips as he glanced back toward the festivities. "Really?" "Yes. Trust me, the more the merrier. Plus, they love having a new pancake flipping partner." Eli chuckled, a lightness threading through him. Together, they walked back into the crowd where the mood was bright and welcoming. As they approached, the kids waved at them, beckoning Eli to join in on a pancake tossing contest. The invitation buzzed with excitement, and he seemed to hesitantly step forward. The moment an eager child pulled him into the mix, Eli's initial reluctance faded. With each flipping pancake and joyful cheer, the atmosphere shifted. Eli laughed, a genuine sound that resonated across the gathering. As the games continued, Amy watched the wall around him crumble like crumbs of the pancakes scattered on the ground. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, Eli was right there in the thick of it, flipping pancakes higher than any of the kids, breaking barriers with each joyful throw. Hours later, when the sky blanketed itself in a starry tapestry, the townsfolk settled down for stories under the stars. Community tales filled the air, weaving connections in a way that felt timeless. Amy felt a sense of belonging, not just for herself, but especially for Eli, who sat among them, engaged, laughing, finally at ease. "See?" Koko whispered in Amy's ear, a proud smile on his plush face. "You've helped him find his place." She nodded, knowing this gathering was as much about her journey as it was about Eli's. As the sky sparkled above, Amy felt a wave of gratitude flood her heart. It wasn't just about one party or a single mishap that brought people together. It was about reaching into the shadows and inviting someone to step into the light. And that was the magic of community, each moment stitched together like a patchwork quilt, one person at a time. But just as Amy leaned back, a familiar figure appeared on the outskirts. It was Mr. Thompson again, still looking on with skepticism. Curiosity danced in his eyes, uncertain of whether to join or remain an outsider. Could she turn this moment into something bigger, an invitation for him as well? What lay ahead in this world where connections burgeoned and shadows waited to be challenged? Together, she thought, That's the inner strength that will break through. With a deep breath, she stood, encouraging Eli to follow. I can't do this without you, she said bravely. We need to share this feeling with everyone. Let us reach out. Turning toward Mr. Thompson, she stepped forward, courage swelling in her chest, ready to expand this sense of community and connection to every corner of Willow Creek. It was time to embrace the challenge ahead. Would they continue to weave the tapestry even tighter, or would they falter? In that moment, they stood united, hands outstretched, ready to invite everyone into the warmth of belonging. The adventure was far from over. And in Amy's heart, she felt the thrill of hope, for each voice mattered and every connection brought them closer, shining against any darkness that dared to linger. Her story, intertwined with Eli's and the fabric of their neighborhood, had finally begun. Amy took that first step, opening the door to a life-changing sense of belonging, and she hoped everyone would join along. Now, take action. You need to subscribe now to dive deeper into these heartwarming tales. Don't wait not even one more second to share this transformation with at least 5 friends who need it. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your feelings about the ending. This is the moment to show your support and make a difference together.